So I've been doing a lot of soul searching, trying to figure out what to do with my 454 about the cam and the lifters and everything like that. And after sending some pictures of my cam to a couple of buddies of mine that work on engines, similarly to how the block doesn't have enough rust in it for me to be worried, they were not worried about the little tarnishing that was on the lobes of the cam. I'm going to flip the camera around here in a second and show you where the tarnishing is. So what I ended up doing, I spent about 4 hours looking online. I have an engine dyno program, virtual engine dyno standard, that I've had for years and years and years. It gives you a pretty good understanding of what the horsepower and torque on an engine will be just by putting in all the specs, the compression ratio, bore stroke, cam specs, valve sizes, port sizes on the heads, and then the intake runner sizes and stuff like that. And it'll kind of give you a good understanding. In all the work I did, putting all the information in there, the heads that I have for this motor, I think the intake runner at most is about 200 cc's, and everybody says the peanut port heads are pretty much crap. They don't flow well, and it really limits your performance. So I spent a ton of time looking at about 15 different camshaft profiles, anything from slightly smaller than stock to, 2 or 3 stages higher than stock, up to like a 550 lift cam. And if I wanted to put a 550 lift cam in this motor, I would have to do a whole bunch of head work. I would have to do new valve springs, like totally different ones, rotator eliminators. I'd have to get 3/8 guide plates. I'd have to get 3/8 push rods. And then I'd have to get new rocker arms, new rocker arm studs. So all that stuff is, $500-600, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but it's around that, to still only get virtually the same performance out of these heads because they're limited by the intake runners. And in all the searching I did online, the biggest cam, or the cam that gave me the most bang for the buck in this motor, was the factory cam. So I was able to look up the factory specs on this thing. I think it's something like 421, 441 lift or something like that, 421 intake, 441 exhaust. And it has like 110 degree lobe separation angle, not a lot of duration, but in putting all the numbers in the computer, the most horsepower and torque I'm going to get out of this engine was right around 280 horsepower, and that's right about 4250 on the RPM scale. And the most torque I'm going to get out of this is about 403. That's between 1,000 and 1,500 RPM, depending on which cam I go with, which ironically is the factory specs for this motor. It only has about 7.9 to 1 compression ratio with the flat top pistons that came with it from the factory, and really the limiting factor is the heads. But let me go ahead and show you the camshaft so you can see what I was talking about with how the lobes are. I think it's going to be fine. I don't like putting new lifters on used cams, but the fact that this cam has very low mileage on it, I'm not too concerned about it. I've done flat tappet lifters on used cams, or new lifters on used cams before. The 305 that I had in my Bel Air previously, that cam I think had been in 3 motors before with different sets of lifters every time, and that one I put new lifters on and broke it in. So I'm crossing my fingers that everything's going to be good, but let's take a look at the cam. So this is the factory camshaft, and every camshaft usually has numbers on the end of it. The numbers on this one that are critical is right here on the bottom there, 6850. The top ones, I'm not really sure what that means. It might be 1991, 18th month or something like, or 18th day, 9th, I don't know. Regardless, I think this motor is either like a 93 or a 95 based on all the specs I found online. But 6850, that's really the last 4 digits of the cam grind. And looking it up, I was able to find the specs on this cam. Now, this in this groove, that little orange stuff, that's actually paint. But what was concerning me, and it hopefully, oh yeah, you can see it in the camera. On this lobe here, which is for cylinder, I think cylinder number 2. It's either 1 or 2, but I think it's number 2. This lobe has some tarnishing on this side of it, which I think is the ramp side. The back side is the decel side, or the closing side. So there's a little bit there, and then a little bit on this lobe for cylinder number 1, which is on the decel side, or the closing side of the valve. And then let's see, also on cylinder number 1, you can see there's a line across it. That's where the lifter was actually resting, on this lobe. So when I pulled this out, I could see a little bit of tarnishing here on the back side of this. And actually, now that I look at this, I don't know, that might have a little bit of, this is the critical wear area right here, because that's where your rocker arm or your lifter comes up on here and rides on the top of the lobe. This is where the most pressure is. And actually, now that I see it, it does seem to be that there's some extra tarnishing on here. So I'm going to take some steel wool and try to polish this and see if I can get that tarnishing out of it. I'm being terrible with the camera right now, but I'm going to try to get this tarnishing out of it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it in this video, but looking at this again, this first lobe is a little bit concerning. So I have a line going across it where the lifter was parked the whole time the engine was shut off. Right at the very peak, there's actually a tarnish mark on there. You can see like that semicircular mark where it looks like it might have worn off some of the shiny finish on this. Again, I'm not sure if that is reason for concern or not. It might be, but I'm still going to hit this with a little steel wool and see how it comes out. Well, it's going to end up being a boring video, but I took some quad-aught steel wool and some WD-40 to this lobe, and I can catch my thumbnail on it. So it's worn through the hardness of the coating on this lobe. I don't feel comfortable putting that in, so I'm going to end up getting a new cam. But it's going to be the same exact grind as this one. So now it's 2 weeks later after the first part of this video when I said I was going to get a new cam. I've ordered all the rest of the parts that I need for the motor. So let's take a quick look at the inventory of the parts that are going to be going in the big block. And then I'm going to do a little bit of work on it tonight, try to clean all the gunk out of the cylinders and wash out the bottom end. Maybe install the cam, the timing set, and the oil pan, maybe the rear main seal. But let's see the parts I got first. So my garage is a bit of a pigsty right now. This is what happens when I have an infinite number of projects that I'm constantly working on back to back to back to back to back and never really finish. So I got tools over here, I got tools and parts over here, I got parts here, I got parts down there, I got parts over there. But let's see what we got. So let's start up here. In this box, I got a bunch of stuff from Summit Racing. So I got 2 bottles of zinc additive, Lucas stuff. I got the Lucas assembly lube to go on the lifters and on the cam journals and everything when I'm putting it together to keep it from galling and burning out my cam when I first started up. For the lifters, I got these Trick Flow Specialties TFS 214-00001. I didn't want to go with cheap Chinese crap, so I bought some pretty decent lifters for the cam. I got Felpro head bolts. These are ES72264 bolt set. I bought 2 of these kits, 1 for each head. Let's see, what else is in here? I bought a straight water neck, an O-ring style water neck for the thermostat, and I bought some extra O-rings as well because sometimes they get destroyed and I wanted to have a few extra ones. This is a brand new oil pan. I'm not sure the brand on this, if it was a Dorman or some other brand, but it's just your generic run-of-the-mill black painted oil pan for the motor. Then over here, I got a TRW TC168S timing set. That's going to go in the motor for the timing set. I bought a set of Engine Tech gaskets. Part number on these, C7.4A. And when I got these, one of the intake manifold gaskets was messed up already, so I'm going to have to buy some intake manifold gaskets. But this is a complete gasket kit for the whole engine. It has your valve cover seals, your head gaskets, your oil pan gasket, you know, the crappy end of the intake manifold gaskets, which I'm not going to use. But it has valve stem seals as well, rear main seal, manifold gaskets, which I may or may not use, timing cover gasket, and intake gaskets, water pump, and all that stuff. But like I said, the intake manifold gaskets on this are messed up. They like delaminated a little bit, so I'm not going to use those. I'll end up getting some Felpro intake gaskets probably for this. Then what else did I get? Down here, I have, oh, that's not it. Where is it? I bought, my camshaft is here. And this is another Engine Tech camshaft. I think the part number is a CS-774. Let's see if it has the number on it. Oh, ES. Is that FS? Engine Tech ES-774 camshaft. So this is about as close to the factory profile as I can get. What's different between this one and the factory GM camshaft is the lift on the intake and the exhaust on the GM one. The intake lift is more than the exhaust lift. On this one, the exhaust lift is more than the intake lift, but putting the numbers in my engine building program, they come out to about the same exact horsepower and torque numbers, however that works. Inside this box, I have a generic line lock that I'm going to put in there at some point. Haven't figured out exactly when I'm going to do it yet. The front pads are really, really crappy. This is my second set of head bolts here. Just got that in the mail the other day. Valve springs was the last thing I bought that I forgot to say. So this is a set of factory valve springs for my heads. These are just your regular oval port GM heads. Very small. Actually, they're called peanut ports because they're smaller than the oval port heads. They're the factory heads on this. If I wanted to make more horsepower out of these, I could actually take the time and open these up a little bit. But for this motor, with the lift I have on the cam, if I was going to open those up and try to get a better cam, I'd have to do valve springs and guide plates and push rods and all this other stuff that I don't really want to spend the money on yet. So I just want to get the 454 together and get it in the truck. So I'm going to start pulling this thing out, put up a drain pan underneath it, and start scrubbing stuff out. So what I'm going to do to start off with, I got some diesel fuel, which actually has a little bit of ATF in it because I like running ATF or Marvel Mystery Oil in my diesel fuel in my tractors. Just keeps them running nice and clean. What I want to do first is start by washing out all the cylinders on this. Maybe put a little bit in the lifter valley, but really right now I'm trying to get the cylinders clean on one side of the motor. So I'm going to keep it upright, kind of wash these out where they are, slowly rotate this thing over to get the pistons to go up and down the full travel, clean them out, and then I'll flip it upside down, wash out the bottom of the motor, and just try to get it generally degreased so I can start putting parts back in it. So that's what I'm going to work on for right now.
Grease-stained hands and busted knuckles, always fixing something. This old truck, she barely runs, worthless maybe, but I love it. Yeah, I love it. Big black blue, she's got me singing. Big black blues, my ears are ringing. Can't stop now, gotta keep on bringing. Big black blues.
Well, that's what I'm doing to clean this up right now. So I've got this side pretty much washed down. I'm not going to go too nuts on this and like get all the pistons perfectly spotless. I make them in here with like a bronze wire wheel and just clean the top of the pistons off and then rinse them out again. But I'm going to tip this on the other side now, clean out that side. It's pretty boring, so I'm not going to record the second half of this. You saw I also scraped all the gasket material off this side. I don't like using a cookie wheel to clean all that stuff off for two reasons. One, using any type of rotary tool on the block will leave minuscule scratches and stuff in it. It can leave it inconsistent. So I just scrape the head gaskets off. I will hit like the spots outside where the head gaskets go with a little sandpaper so I can see the casting numbers and stuff like that on the block. But I'm not even going to sand this down. I'm just going to take a separate razor blade and go over the whole thing after I get it all cleaned up and dried off, just to get a good mating surface for the gasket. And then, so depends on what I get done tonight. I'm not sure how far I'll be able to go, but probably pull the timing cover back off, flip it upside down, wash it out a little bit from the inside, and then just kind of pour some clean diesel through it to get most of the grime out that I can. that's about the best I'm going to be able to do without really being able to hot tank it or anything. So I'm going to do the best I can to get it clean before I start putting anything back in it. Well, this is where I'm at now. I got the cylinders as clean as I could. I did a quick hone job in here just to try to get rid of as much of the crap out of the cylinders as I could. You can still see some staining. It's not great, but it's the best I could do right now. I got a bronze brush and I cleaned off the pistons, just trying to get all the carbon off. This one you can kind of feel a little bit of a ridge in here, just a little bit, not too bad. Cylinder number 2 is actually the worst. The rest of these aren't too bad. It's not ideal, I understand that, but short of pulling the whole entire bottom end of this engine apart and, you know, doing a really good hone job or having it bored 10 over, that's about the best I'm going to get for now. So as it's almost dark out now, I'm going to stop for tonight, probably end this video. So this is going to be, you know, again, just an update on where I'm at with this engine. It's getting there. I think another couple of hours of cleaning and just going through everything, cleaning out all the lifter bores, which actually look phenomenal. I mean, the chamfers and everything on the lifter bores are just absolutely amazing. There's no rust in any of the lifter bores. So I'm going to stop for tonight, push this thing back in the corner with a plastic bag on it, and I'll pick up another day this week when I get some more time. I'm hoping this weekend to be able to put the majority of this thing together. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to put the heads on until I go through those, and I haven't started that yet, but that's going to do it for this edition of Cranky Motorsports and this edition of an update on the 454 Big Block Chevy for my Squarebody. It's definitely coming along.
Chrome headers screaming loud, gotta outrun the crowd, got a lead foot, never slow, never gonna let it go. Big black blue, she's got me singing. Big black blues, my ears are ringing. Can't stop now, gotta keep on bringing. Big black blues.
Hey, get out of here, skunk. Go away. Go away.
Some say I'm wasting time. Some say I'm out of my mind. But they don't understand. This machine makes me a man.
Go away, skunk.